There you go, Chair Jones. It's all yours.
All right, thank you, Miss Rita. What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling?
Great.
Good, good. Yeah, I know you feeling great. I know I'm over here pointing at you like you in the room with me. I don't know why I'm pointing at you out, but that's where you are on my screen. So you over there. Do we have? I think we got a couple of minutes to do a quick. What's new and good in your life? What are you feeling good about? Feeling positive about? Excited about? Anybody want to kick us off?
I was excited for the snow.
Ooh. So okay, so I have a question.
I've really been enjoying it.
In typical researcher fashion, I have probing questions, Miss Darlene. So are you a sit inside with a warm cup of tea or coffee and watch the snow come down person? Or do you like to get out in the snow?
Out in the snow.
Oh
Okay.
my.
Yeah.
I've had several snowball fights with the kids in the neighborhood.
I love it. I love it. That sounds too fun. I love that.
I'm out in it.
I like it. I like it. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Brother Romaine? Mike?
I'm gonna roll with the University of Louisville men's basketball team.
Come on with it. Come on.
You know, I am optimistically satisfied with the production of the squad and the coach, and which means I'll now be booking trips to follow the squad to Charlotte in the NCAA tournament, hopefully.
They done gave him a reason to travel.
Gave
him a reason. That's all he needed was a reason, and they gave
just a sliver of a reason is all I ever need.
I love it. I love it. I'd like to go to Charlotte one of these times too for some of those tournament games. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
We went down there for the football game when Louisville played Florida State in the football game. It's a nice city. There's a lot going on down there. So yeah,
it's a cool place. I haven't been in a while, but I do know that it's a cool place. Mike, Miss Laura, Miss Rita, Heather, what about y'all?
I mean, it's too cold to do anything outside, so I'm getting a lot of inside stuff done and everything's getting canceled. So that's the silver lining.
Mike, are you an introvert like me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, because your new and good started off kind of grim at first, but you brought it home at the end. I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. And from one introvert to another. I feel you, Mike.
You cannot convince me you're an introvert, Chair Jones.
Yeah.
I am. I'm the person.
You're an introvert when you want to be, but no, you're not an introvert.
No, look, so I would say this, and I mean this in the kindest, most loving way possible. Almost every single place you see me, I did not want to be there until I got there. Until I got there. And then when I get there, I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm glad I came. But it's just the getting over the hump. And I figured this out. I learned it from Martin. So anytime I go somewhere, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get up, I'm going to leave my house and go, and I'm going to come back to my house. But I'm already at home. So I can just cut out the middleman, you know? I can just
cynical. That does not sound right.
What about you, Miss Laura?
Rita? It says makes a lot of sense. So,
gosh, well, for me, I have a grandchild graduating from UK this spring, and he's now waiting to hear about his graduate school applications. So fingers crossed.
What is he?
He is in art history, and he's also a practicing artist.
Ooh. Where can we find his art?
He actually had an exhibit in Paris over the summer, which is odd for someone who's still in college. So
it is. So it sounds like we're gonna have to wait to be able to find his art.
And he, while he was still, I think when he was a sophomore, he curated an exhibition at the 21C hotel in Lexington for student artists at UK. So he's a talented young man.
That's super cool. Do you mind to share his name? I'd like to.
It's Mitchell Bunton Douglas.
Awesome.
Mhm,
Yeah, I would love to look up some of his work.
mhm.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
All righty.
I'll go next. I just have had a lot of family stuff going on, like connecting the generations that have been disconnected for a number of years now. That's the latest and greatest on my side, is reconnecting dots and lost connections between family.
I love that. I love that.
Well, I
That's
got a
very important.
wonderful video today from our 6-year-old granddaughter who is reading like a champ. She was reading a
that's
book.
wonderful. That's
And
wonderful.
both our daughters homeschool, so that was a real exciting thing. Little Sloan was reading and articulating, and we are just so proud. So
I
that's
know
the
that.
latest,
It's
other than,
fabulous.
the cold. Yes.
I know that
I'm
for
not
my
a
great
cold weather kind
grandson.
of person. I'm a beach and sun kind of girl. And
Mhm.
I am not getting any love from the Louisville atmosphere with regard to that.
Yes.
And Miss Darlene, look, I looked outside and I'm like, some of the snow on our grass is in the neighborhood. We're the only ones where the snow has melted. I think our house is situated to where we get more sun. And the sooner it melts, the happier I'll be.
Miss Darlene, she said, "Come get your snow."
I know. I'm looking at a beautiful sunset right now too. It's about to go away. Can you all see that?
Wow.
A little bit. A
Yeah, I
little
see
bit.
it. Yeah, very nice. There's Dr.
Yeah.
Milner.
Dr. M in the building. Dr. M, we are doing
He's
what's
a busy
new,
one, boy.
what's good. Anything that is positive in your life or that you're feeling good about that you would like to share. I know I'm putting you on the spot for sure.
So I like Miss Rita, my grandson, who is 6 years old. He is absolutely reading as well. He next week they're going to test him for the gifted and talented program at our school. I guess this is a positive. It's kind of a negative positive. One of the students that I had who wasn't doing well in school, and they ended up getting ready to expel her from school. I now teach homebound with her, so she's not being expelled, and she's doing amazingly well. She went from
Oh,
pretty much straight F's to B's and a couple A's. So A's
That's
and B's.
good. That's
good.
good.
Big
That's a
victory.
positive.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is a
So
positive.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's a really big deal.
Big
You got
ups to
change
these
lives.
talented 6-year-olds.
Yes. My great
Right.
grandson, 6 years old, and he reads very well too. He's
Mhm,
very articulate.
mhm.
So I'm proud of him because I'm working with some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders right now that they're not doing so well.
Mhm.
That it's kind of surprising.
Dr. Milner just gave you some hope. Just keep pushing. Just keep pushing. Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. And mine real quick, I think I just been prioritizing spending time with my family. I'm going to be hanging out with my granddad this weekend on Saturday.
Wonderful.
I'm super excited about that. We went fishing not too long ago, and I ain't gonna lie, he caught most of the fish, and they were big. But he wants to have a fish fry this weekend, so that's what we're gonna be doing. So I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, I appreciate you all sharing a little bit as we get started. So to roll right into it, the first item on a pretty brief agenda is the approval of minutes from the December 16th meeting. Miss Rita was so kind to send those out to us in advance of this. So Rita, thank you for being on top of that as always. Does anybody have any questions or items for discussion regarding the minutes from our last meeting? Give y'all a little bit of time. Over those. And so just to ask briefly, is the silence because folks are reviewing the minutes or because folks don't have any comments? Either way, we're okay. I just want to know if I should give more time or move on.
I'm good.
I'm good as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. So this is where it's been a minute. We had the holiday break. Y'all gotta give me a little bit of grace. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the December 16th Community Engagement Committee meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Ooh, wait, y'all was quick recall with it. Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, good deal. So the next item on the agenda that just closed on me for some reason is community engagement updates. And I connected with Heather. Is it okay if we start with you? All right.
Yep,
Great.
we can. Did you want to finish what you were going to say or no?
Yeah, so I was trying to get I'm sorry. I was
Oh.
distracted. I was trying to get my screen pulled back up because everything closed on me. But you shared some things that you have working that I think will support the committee in our organization and our awareness of some of the things that are happening that I thought was an interesting idea. So yeah, I just wanted to allow you some space to talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to put out there that I spoke with Dr. Gabe earlier today and shared with him a couple of concepts that I was working on that were just committee specific for community engagement. I know everybody has a lot of different things on their plates, and this is a volunteer capacity, and everybody still wants to see all of the initiatives and efforts move forward. And so, in line with trying to get that traction going a little more and more concisely, I've developed a web page that's going to be just for our internal use. I'm kind of floating the idea of maybe having a link included on the main partnership page for people who want to send inquiries or requests or ideas or neighborhood specific things, just as a one-stop resource for community engagement specifically. So different initiatives that the neighborhoods are working on, if there are any that you're aware of, or the ones that I'm gonna just be posting because as community engagement, I feel like that's what we're supposed to be doing, is engaging and impacting and being able to be a liaison between the partnership of the neighborhood representatives and to the residents. That's what the functionality I understand the neighborhood representative roles and such to be. So with that, I want this page to be a resource for us to be able to stay in communication. I know email may not work as well for everybody, so text messages or phone calls, just simple updates will be kept on this page as a resource repository for getting things out, for keeping everybody in the loop, ample planning time, just a rough sketch outline agenda of what's upcoming, what initiatives we could maybe come up with for whatever current season we're facing, just to have some type of more tangible goal setting and actionable steps associated with the engagement side of the house. Because I don't know if there's anything that stands currently in that regard. So establishing that, I think, is definitely a key component in the success of what the committee wants to do. And then also what we're actually going to do.
A question just for before you guys jump in, because I know uh-oh. I'm trying to Heather and Dr. Jones have had a conversation to talk about that, but this is new for me. So Heather has not had an opportunity for us to have a conversation. So Heather, I need to be clear what you're proposing. Are you talking about creating a web page just for the committee, aside from what is already structured on our new website for
Yes.
community to provide feedback? Expound a little bit more on what you are suggesting, since we haven't had a chance to even talk about it.
hmm it's a two-part thing. The internal page just for the community, or yeah, the community engagement committee, and then on the actual partnership website to have some type of, like you suggested, I want to say it may have been at our last meeting, to have a, I think you said a web email address for each representative, but I would suggest instead of having a email box for each one, just one main mailbox that would be under continuous monitoring and fielding for returning questions or ideas or so on and so forth, just correspondence in general.
Okay. Well, one of the things I'll suggest for offline is for you and I to have a conversation. The website itself, they've structured a generic email box for each of the 9 neighborhoods, because each neighborhood, while we have maybe on some things will be collective, but we have 9 independent neighborhoods. And so we want to be able to kind of sort through. We always want to go back to the community engagement report. Everything is broken down by neighborhood. So you and I can have a conversation so I can expound more for you on that, so that you have a better comprehensive understanding of what is already set up on the website and how what you're suggesting may tie into that. I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that, and I'll go back on silent and we'll talk
No
offline.
problem.
Mhm. Let me just add too that tomorrow, I think Rita and I are scheduled to have a conversation with Nimbus, and they're of course our communication specialists. We'll run through with them, Rita, I think, what needs to happen in order for what Heather is suggesting to be actualized, and maybe we can get a more succinct idea of what our current capabilities are regarding posting items from the each of the 9 neighborhoods. We just might need an update on what's available now on the webpage.
I mean, I think Heather's just talking about something for the committee to share information between each other, between ourselves, right? I don't
Yes.
want to
But that wouldn't need to be connected to the main website then, Mike, right? If we're talking internally, that's one thing. What are you saying, Mike?
Not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if it's some kind of intranet SharePoint or Google Docs or something like that, where, there's a collective information stream, it doesn't have to be public or interface with the current website at all.
Right.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Thank you for sharing that, Heather. I really appreciate it. And to build on sort of the overarching concept of what Heather mentioned, I wanted to sort of propose an idea for us to discuss to see how you all feel about it. So I'll start with just being very, very, very transparent. Y'all, sometimes I'm working so much right now that I feel like I am drowning. And I'm having a hard time managing and balancing that. And while I care deeply about the work that we are doing and the work that we are tasked with on this committee, sometimes this falls down lower than it should because of all of the other things I'm trying to keep in the air. And I've been thinking about what I think. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Did you have something to say about what Heather was saying?
Well, actually, it was really about what Miss Frida was saying. So, because while you were talking about that, I went to the website and I went to my neighborhood and I didn't even realize that we had something in there for folks to make comments in their neighborhoods. So, who is monitoring that, and are those getting disseminated to the neighborhood representatives?
Right now, our website people are monitoring those. We are in conversations with them, and now that Dr. Wade and her team are on board, there will be an integration of the website people, Dr. Wade's, and our team to make sure that everything that's been captured is getting properly disseminated. So yeah, Chris, you're right on point with that. So our first meeting with Dr. Wade is tomorrow, but they've been doing some preliminary work already with Honeywick and in communication with our team with regard to that. So it's not just the emails. There's some additional opportunities for people to give feedback. Like, for example, with regard to nominators, I have 3 nominators or 3 recommendations that have come through the website that's been sent to the Board Development Committee. Well, we're trying to make sure in the transition to the new website that we haven't lost any of that, and we haven't. And so we're working with them to make sure all of that is, pulled together and that we follow up on every point that has come through. It hasn't been a tremendous amount, but we do have some feedback.
Thank you.
So thanks for making that point and looking at that. Let me say this, Chris, one of the little challenges when we were talking with the website people working through cleaning up some things, it's like I knew we were setting that up and I was not getting the information initially because the info at West End Partners, everything was going to the info, but it was getting somewhere stuck on the backside. And so they've been cleaning all that up. So we're just making sure that we're grasping everything, that we're not losing anything that anybody has sent, and that those individuals get the proper response and outreach, that they're requesting.
Thank you, Chris. And sorry I missed your hand at first. I didn't see that. But what I was getting at is I wanted to gauge your all's interest in to specifically hear from you, Laura, and Rita on if this is even possible or feasible with open meetings and all of that, all of those things. But would it be possible for us to have either an extended board meeting that maybe lasts 2 hours or a community engagement committee retreat where we can spend some time to just plan out things for the year? Because one of the things that I am noticing is I feel, so we have Heather now, but, and this starts with me as the chair of this committee, I don't feel like we are optimizing Heather's skill set. And I think a part of that is that if we had things planned out more in advance, so say if we had a year, or we planned out for a year, we know the big dates that things, for things that our board has to accomplish, for things that the partnership has to accomplish, and we can begin to devise a plan for what community engagement looks like around those things and broadly, so that between meetings, we have more of a clear understanding of what our individual responsibilities are as committee members, but also we are very clear on what our ask of Heather is between meetings so that we can maximize her skill set. I know personally that would be a big help for me because I find that sometimes I come to these meetings and I'm very passionate about what we're doing, but after the meeting, it's like reality kicks back in and work picks back up and all of those things. And I think for me anyway, we could mitigate that if we just had a planning session to sort of map out what we want to achieve, what our goals are, and ultimately share that with the board as well. But I wanted to see what you all thought about that and if that's even possible.
I do think that a retreat for this committee is a really good idea. And as you said, it will give the committee an opportunity to share ideas in a relaxed setting where you're not feeling like you're hampered by time constraints. And having a retreat will just put everybody more in the brainstorming kind of state of mind. So it'll just be a matter of coming up with some possible dates and times that'll work best on people's calendars. But yes, I would support this committee having a retreat.
Thank you for that.
And if I can just add, Laura, I know we've had conversations too, because now that we're having our first board meeting of the year in January, but we're also in conversations about strategic planning, board retreat, that kind of thing for the board, you know, for the overall organization. And so I don't know if, uh, well, I'm thinking probably community engagement, if that would be uh, um, a process that would be incorporated and broken out from an overall board retreat, or if it's better to just do community engagement separate, even if we have a board orientation or a board retreat. What's your thought on that, Laura? I know we've had
I
some
think,
conversations.
yeah, I think we can do both. We can have a larger retreat for the full board, but I'm also feeling it would be very helpful if this group just had some uninterrupted, very relaxed time to share ideas and to talk without having time constraints or feeling as if they were only going to be together for an hour. It'll give people a chance to think creatively and to perhaps maybe share some things that they feel like they wouldn't have time to share in a regular committee meeting. So we can do both, a full board and a retreat for this committee. If you think about it, this committee's task is at the heart of what the overall enterprise is charged with doing. And you know, I think it's important to spend some separate time hearing from each of the neighborhoods about what the representative feels are the critical issues in those neighborhoods, what kinds of activities they think we should be engaged in to relate to those issues, etc. So I'm all for retreat, as many as possible.
And I would suggest that it would almost, given people's schedule, would almost have to be on a Saturday.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I know we have assistance from Heather, but from an overall standpoint, we need to really think about if we want this sooner, you know, so we can start looking at dates. I'm not a doodle poll kind of person. We have a small enough committee that you guys can start thinking about dates that would work. I mean, this is the 22nd of January. Are we talking about getting lining this up for sometimes in February? Because that means that we've got to do some work about the agenda structure, you know, the kind of assistance we might need to walk us properly through a strategic planning session. And all of that. It's not something you can just say, well, we're going to come together. And so we got a plan. And you know, Dr. Jones, that's going to require some, you know, conversation as leadership, you know, based on what works best for the overall committee. So we stand ready to start navigating this and getting this set up sooner rather than later.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a very good suggestion. It's a very good suggestion. I think that there's real value in having some uninterrupted time where people can share ideas.
I think that would be good as well.
And if you don't know where you're going as a committee, if you don't know how to get there, if you don't know where you're going, and you know, we're at a very, very critical point now. We've got the foundation laid. We're starting out in 2025. We got some partners on board. We got some things that are lining up. So it is now definitely time to take this committee, as all committees, to the next level. So we need to start delivering and being proactive about what it is, because we don't want to be all over the place.
Right.
You know, and we've got to make sure that we keep that community engagement report as part of, it is the blueprint, because that's the voice of the community. You know, we are a community-based driven initiative. And so we have got to keep the community, they've already said what the priorities are. What we need to do now as a community engagement committee, figure out what things that we can help to deliver on or help to undergird each of these 9 neighborhoods, so that we can move the needle for each of these 9 neighborhoods, you know, to that next station. Didn't mean to get on my soapbox, but you know, we're all very passionate, and you know, we're seeing the progress, and so we want to keep it moving.
Yeah, it's real basic for me. If the chair says he wants some time for the committee to talk, then we'll have time for the committee to talk. Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Mhm.
I think it's a great idea, and I think we should move forward with it.
Mhm.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Dr. M, I see you nodding, but I just wanted to, okay.
Mhm.
Ms. Darlene, how you feel?
I feel the same way. I think it's a good
Okay.
idea.
Okay. Um,
Chris, what about you? Okay.
2 thumbs up.
All
Okay.
right.
So just logistically, as far as us selecting a day and time, as well as sort of creating an agenda for the day, what would be the most efficient process for us to do that?
Okay.
Ideas?
Here's since Rita says let's not do a doodle poll, they can be maddening. We're assuming that we're assuming that it's going to be on a Saturday. So why don't we do something real simple? If the committee members can send a note to both me and Rita outlining in the next 2 months what are the best Saturdays for you and what time from X to when. Also, if you have ideas about topics that you want to include for that day, put that in your email too. Rita and I will locate a place and we'll get a discussion leader, a recorder, etc. We'll do all the behind the curtain kind of things. But what we need to hear from you is how much time, what's the best Saturday, and your idea of topics that need to be discussed.
Okay. And so y'all don't make no faces, y'all. Y'all gotta control your face on this. I'm saying this for me, for myself. As a committee, does anybody feel like they cannot send that to Miss Rita and Miss Laura tonight? Is that something we can do and have sent in today? And I'm mostly talking to myself because I know if I don't do it, it ain't no telling when I'm gonna do it. So, so this is for me mostly.
I'm gonna find your office on the U of L campus. So I'm gonna become a visitor. That's the only thing I haven't done, Dr. Jones, is track you down. I know you at U of L, so I'm gonna find you if I need you.
No, you know, said carrier pigeons and everything else. I know. But is that reasonable for folks?
And I don't have a problem doing a doodle poll if you guys want me to. I mean, I do feel that way about doodle polls, but this group is small enough.
It's small enough.
You know, and I like to be more efficient.
Just
And
and then we'll pick a place in West Louisville, someplace that will be easy to get to for everybody.
And did you say
we might use U of L's facility that's on Broadway.
Use what?
U of L's facility that's on Broadway, close to where our office is located.
And I know usually when you do strategic planning sessions or what have you, you like to be off site. But remember, we do have that amazing boardroom for a group this size. But if we want to have it somewhere else, you know, we have our own boardroom, but we can have it at a different site if that is something you all want to do to make yourselves feel more relaxed or whatever, but
Mhm.
that's why we have that space.
Does
We can
anybody
use
have a
that.
preference about whether or not they want to do it at the office or at another facility? Nobody cares? Okay,
In
okay,
office is available and we don't, that's less work, right?
okay, yeah, so we might as well have it at the office. If
Yeah.
nobody is opposed to that, we can do that, certainly.
And are we thinking, well, so two questions. Ms. Lar, did you say you said Saturdays in February and March?
Uh-huh, the next 2 months.
Um,
And then what time of day on the Saturday?
what time of day we're free? Okay.
Mhm.
Do you all have thoughts about how long we should plan for? We should plan to spend.
Yeah, minimum half day, wouldn't you say, Dr. Milliner? Minimum half day,
Mhm.
4 or 5 hours. Of course, we'll provide food, that sort of thing, snacks.
Yes,
And at the office, we have parking, right there at the building, particularly on a Saturday.
yeah,
Okay. And so I don't know that we necessarily have to have this squared away right now, but I guess
Right.
we should also be thinking about if there are particular things that are particular areas where we think we may need support or we may need to hear from an outside voice in this space. So, for example, I know Dr. Craddock is a leader of community engagement at the university. Perhaps he could be a resource for us. I'm just throwing stuff out. But if there
I was
are
thinking of him too.
areas where we know we may need support or where we could benefit from hearing ideas, I know there are also several organizations. So in Russell, for example, I know RPOP has done an excellent job with community engagement. So just thinking about
Yeah.
resources we could leverage to give us
Yes.
ideas to make sure we're doing this thing the right way.
yeah,
And incorporate those thoughts into your email that when you send over for the Saturday options, if
Okay.
there's resources that pop to your mind, incorporate that. Because Dr. Jones, I was thinking about Dr. Craddock as well. As one opportunity, one opportunity. But there's a lot of resources out there, and so that's all a part of us planning this day out. Based on what it is. What's the end game? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? Thank you, Mike.
oh,
He's got his dates already out there on the chat box. Not too early in the morning. What's not too early?
And I'm not really awake before 10 or 11. I can do that.
Oh,
Just
like what about 9 or 10? Is that good?
no, he said no. No,
9 or 10
Yeah.
is
too
fine,
early.
not
That's too
6 or
I-
8.
Mhm.
I'm not in.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, so yeah. So, but any feedback, anything you might, that comes to mind, send it over to us, and then we'll get this ball moving right, right away.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. And so we're sending those. Everybody remember, we're sending those this evening.
Maybe.
And again, I'm talking to myself. Don't laugh at me, Miss Darlene. Don't you laugh at me. Oh, okay. So that was the big thing for me, because I feel like at times it's felt like whack-a-mole a little bit, where we have we've had very urgent things that we've needed to prepare for, and I think we've done a good job of that. But I think to maximize our impact, this would be really, really good for us.
Yes, yes.
Does anyone have other items for discussion right now? Mike, I see you unmuted.
So I've got one if possible.
Yeah, go ahead. It looks like Chris does too.
So February 4th, Portland Now is hosting Waterfront Development Corp. As many of you are aware, they're expanding Waterfront Park West. And I got the opportunity, along with several other neighborhood folks, to do a tour of the new Playport. And if I can, I'm going to share some pictures. Um,
Mike brought show and tell, y'all.
all right. So,
Oh wow.
I should have taken, I was too busy playing in the park, that I didn't really take enough pictures. But they've taken real, like, live equipment, construction equipment and boats and river stuff and turned it into play equipment. So I mean,
Oh,
it's
wow.
incredibly innovative. So this is a bucket off of a bucket loader. This is actually a conveyor belt. It doesn't move, but if you run fast enough, it's quite the inclined treadmill. They have these like sky tubes, is what I call them. Has anybody been to City Museum in St. Louis?
Yes. Oh my God.
So it's very much
It's
like that,
amazing. It's
but they're
crazy.
not as high.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure a 5-year-old can get through this way easier than a 45-year-old can.
Mhm.
But it is possible. And then, the slides. Here's my daughter. They have a, I don't know exactly what type of construction equipment this is, but it's all real stuff that they've um, integrated into the design. And there's climbing walls. There's a full-sized human hamster wheel, um, which I attempted. Probably too old for that sort of thing, but all of these buoys and stuff that you see, there's ropes, and the kids can move this stuff up overhead in real time. Um, more of these tubes, these buoys. This is actually the pilot house from a buoy boat, a buoy setter boat. So I mean, it's super cool. There's a dump truck back here that they've turned into a slide. And then these aren't finished. They don't have all of the grass and rubber stuff in there. But basically, they're doing a presentation at the Portland Now neighborhood meeting on February 4th. Meeting starts around 6 p.m. For food and social time. We usually have like pizza and salad. And then the meeting starts at 6:30. So I don't know if you guys remember, what the waterfront was like before the park. Um, and they have a website that goes into more detail on the expansion. But this is kind of a visual, an overhead view. And then they have whatever the renderings of the park. But this is going to be a massive chain, or have massive impacts on Portland, Russell, and all of the West End. But I say, like, Nulu would not be what it is today without Waterfront Park. And I'm sure of that. And I think this may have similar impacts on the West End. There's opportunities and, maybe some threats, but I think, we as our neighborhoods need to find a way to make this work for us. And I think we all need to be kind of informed. But this is phase one. It's going to open in March or April, but come spring, this is going to be open. So, I think we need to make sure and get the word out and get educated on, what's going on. They have a building for rent. but this is gonna stretch all the way down past eventually to the 14th Street Bridge and potentially farther.
Do you think it would be helpful to have someone from the who's involved in the planning of this to speak at a board meeting, to do a presentation at a board meeting, Mike?
I'm sure if we ask Deborah, she'd, be happy to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, you might have said this, but where does Portland Now meet?
So we
At
meet
the Church
the
of the Promise.
Church of the Promise, which is behind the table, but essentially
Oh
it's
yeah, okay.
at the table. But the entrance is off 18th Street. It's at 1800 Portland Avenue. But you come in on the side entrance at 18th, between 18th and Baird.
Okay. I've been there many times.
Parking across the street. There's usually plenty of parking that time of day at on Portland Avenue. And I had taken you can you can see it from the Riverwalk. Eventually you'll be able to access the park through the Riverwalk, but right now it's fully fenced off. But this was part of the tour that I took Heather on. You could see stuff sprouting up, and it's been kind of fun to watch. But it was even more fun to get to play on it.
You was brave to go through that. I don't know what you called it, the air tunnel.
I call them sky tubes.
Yeah, that was bold. That was bold.
Well, they were covered in, dust. So like I'd get halfway up and slide back down. But
Next time, please have somebody in your family film that, Mike, and share it with the group.
well,
Right, you
we
need
had
a
to have
spotter and a
hard hat.
documenter.
So then, the hamster wheel, I was trying to do the hamster wheel, but my hat kept falling off and I was tripping over it. So
Yeah, I need to see that. I need to see that. Oh,
Looks like
cool.
Chris
Thank you.
has his hand up.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, it really was just. I think probably everybody on the meeting here probably knows, but I was on the finance meeting and come to realize that there have been proposals coming in. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone in the neighborhood engagement committee was getting access to that. I've asked Rita for that access so we can see all those different proposals and things like that, because apparently there are some in our neighborhoods. And so I wasn't sure if everybody knew that or not. So to make sure that you are on that, and I guess, just providing assistance where you can.
Good shout, Chris.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
getting the emails to Cornerstone for all the finance committee and for those board members who request, because I sent email to Mike to update him on that based on his request. We have some board members, and I want to be a respecter of that too, who don't necessarily want that level of access into a particular time. They function like from the verbal reports and things like that. Then we have other board members, and certainly everybody on finance committee definitely needs to have that level of access. But any board member can have it if they want it. So at whatever time. So
So if you
we'll
do
set that
want,
up.
yeah, if you do want to see the shared folder that has those preliminary reports in it, just let Rita know and we can
Yeah.
set up access. And remember keep in mind what the process is. The board has adopted its fund eligibility criteria. And each of the applicants are expected to hit all of those benchmarks that the board has requested. When that occurs, the finance committee will be ready to take some action on each of those proposals. And remember, if the project or activity is in your neighborhood, you will be invited to the finance committee where that proposal will be reviewed and you'll have an opportunity to provide input more on what
And
the
then-
people in the neighborhood think about it, what's your personal opinion about the impact, etc. And that will happen before there's any kind of vote, a yes or no vote.
And then as board members can, just like any other guests, like I think Chris, you said you were sitting in, viewing the finance
Yeah.
committee, so you can sit in, even if you're not a member of that committee where you would be on a panelist level,
Mhm.
you can sit in on any meeting that the board has.
Yeah.
So, we want people to make sure that they are aware of that as well.
But it really is interesting. I think that finance committee meeting was very interesting to see the level of activity, the number of requests that are coming in.
And we're gonna have Travis will be at the board meeting on Monday.
Mhm.
He gave an update to the finance committee. He's gonna do that same thing. Now, one of the things we want people to understand, and this is important to make sure that the public understands, there's certain information that will be in the portal. It's general information. People aren't gonna have access to people's personal financial details in that portal. So people who are submitting applications for funding, we want them to be secure, to know that their information is not just going to be on blast. So those 30-day determination letters, the application form itself, the name of the company, the information about what they're trying to do, you'll have access to all of that and see what they've submitted and what the recommendation is. And the interesting thing is that anybody who has not submitted all the proper details that's being requested, that 30-day determination letter follows up with that and also makes recommendations. So no one is automatically said or told that their application is denied. The next step is, if you don't have all your information, here's what you need, and they're given time to submit that information so that there is the comprehensive package to make a well-informed decision that comes to the finance committee.
But as Rita said, Travis, representing Cornerstone Engineering, will be at the board meeting, and he has very good up-to-date information. So just zero in on him and ask him whatever questions you may have. He and Rita and I meet every 2 weeks and review every single application as well. So things are, the information tunnel is up to date. There's no one out there languishing or wondering what's happening. So I think you'll find that part of the meeting very, very interesting and encouraging. It really kind of highlights the level of interest that the community has in approaching the partnership for support.
Dr. Jones, I know we're coming up on our hour, and I don't want us to forget this piece. I sent out an email a little earlier today, letting not only to the Community Engagement Committee, but to the full board. I sent the online version of the cultural calendar. We talked about that last month. So that is still very much alive and well. The online version, everybody has a copy of that. The partnership is prominently included on the inside cover page that talks about us being open for business or small business, the tax or the tax piece. I have to think about what that is. And so the online version is all color. Okay, and we have secured 1,000 copies of the hard copy version, which Akram called me on yesterday, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to pick those up at all on tomorrow or Friday, or as I said in the email, it may be better with Heather's help, working with each of the neighborhood folks, for you guys to pick up your 100 copies, We have 100 copies for each neighborhood, hard copy. Now, the hard copies, the cover, the inside cover, the back cover, and the inside back cover are in color. Everything else in the booklet is black and white. So we have 100 copies for each of the neighborhoods for you guys to determine the best sites in your neighborhood to disseminate 100 copies that gives people all of the activities that are taking place from Black History Month, February, and I think it goes right up to maybe June. I have to look at it. And as I shared, you know, we were hoping that we would have some additional events submitted by the committee. I don't know if it was not enough time or if nothing was happening in the community, but that's okay. The good news is that we still that we have these hard copies to disseminate. We will have 100 copies. We have 1,000 copies, so that means we have 100 copies left for our corporate office. We're going to disseminate at the board meeting. So each board member has a copy, or if they like several copies to take back to their respective offices. Because you will see in the email, I think they're at Republic Bank. I think that's what it says, Republic Bank, and several other places that they will automatically, the hard copies will be posted. So you guys, they're at the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage right now. I can either have them brought to our office, or you guys can come to our office, or Heather, we can coordinate with you all to get them and get them to you. Or we can just pick them up from the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage per neighborhood. So you all can think about that and kind of let me know how you want to handle it. But you do have an email in your inbox that addresses what I've just articulated. Any questions?
I would prefer to pick them up at the board meeting, and then I can
Yeah.
distribute
Pick them
out.
up
Okay.
at the office, Mike. Is that what you said?
At the office?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay,
And since we
Okay.
have that board meeting on Monday, Rita, that might be
okay.
easier
I'll
for
have
everybody.
I'll have them delivered from the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage over to the office. Akram says, I think they come in the boxes of 240, and there's going to be 4 or 5 boxes, but he says they're super heavy. So I'll get someone to deliver, bring them to our office, but then on Monday, you guys can take them with you from the board meeting.
you need help.
And those that do not get picked up, Heather, I'll need you, and we can talk about this, to connect with that respective representative, and then you guys need to figure out the best way to get that to that neighborhood, and working with the neighborhood reps to figure out the best locations that to disseminate some of those 100 brochures. There may be 3 or 4 locations. There may be 1 or 2. If there's 2, you put 50 at each. If there's 3 or 4, you put 25, 35 at each location. And timing is great because today is the 22nd. So this is not something we can really sit on because things are going into effect in the next week or two with February coming up for all the Black History celebrations. You can see from the online copy things that are taking place. Everybody should have that.
And I can pick some up and bring them to the office if you don't have anybody. As long as
Okay,
it's in my truck.
all right. You said it, Mike. I'm gonna be calling you tomorrow.
Okay.
You have some dollies. We have a dolly at the office, which is my dolly I brought, but I leave it there. So if you need dollies, I've got dollies.
Yeah, I have a dolly. It's not a great dolly. but
Okay.
I've got-
I'll call you tomorrow. Because we kind of like to maybe, I mean, if you're available tomorrow, I'd like to get this done and get it over to the office. Is there a time that works for you? And I can talk to you offline.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
More afternoon.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for that, Ms.
Thank
Reed.
you.
Yeah,
Um,
You're
don't call him before 9 o'clock.
I hear you.
All right, y'all. Don't forget to send in your list of Saturdays and the time of day this evening. And you can actually, if you want, you can reply all to Mike's email. I saw Mike's come through because he was on top of it as usual. But yeah, if you all don't have anything else, I think we can go ahead and adjourn this thing. Anybody? All right.
Okay.
All right,
All right, Mike, I'll
everyone.
talk to you offline.
See you
Okay.
on Monday.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
See you on
you.
Good
Monday.
night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Night, everybody.
Stay warm.
Bye-bye. Bye.